Happy Monday, everybody. Thank you again for your patience, for pushing it back just a little bit to 4:15. As you may or may not know, I live in Wisconsin, and in Wisconsin, we just got hit with a wonderful, beautiful snowstorm. So thank you for allowing me to get home safely. So for those of you that are just joining us, my name is Sarah Krajewski, and I run the weekly Instagram live chats, and am also an elementary art educator in Wisconsin. So I'm super excited you all are here, and we'll be soon joined by Emily Balsley, who is going to be joining us soon. Y'all listen. She has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to share. Another fellow Madison artist as well. Hi, Emily.
Hello. Glad
How are
you're
you?
safe.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It is all good. You're also in Wisconsin, well, like probably 20 minutes from me, so you know what the weather is like right now.
Yep, it's crazy. It was 60 last week, and now we're getting 3 inches of snow. So
yeah, I know.
That's how it works around here.
Leave it to Wisconsin to like be in short sleeves one day, and then the next day you're like just holding on to the steering wheel for dear life. That's what I felt like, but we're good.
Good.
So,
I'm glad you're home safe.
Thank you. Welcome to our Instagram live chat. So excited to chat with you today, Emily. We have known each other for a while, but not everybody knows who you are. So can you give us all like a little quick background on who you are as an artist and person?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Emily Balsley in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm an illustrator, but I kind of consider myself just general artist, maker. I love doing it all. Oh gosh, you can probably hear my cat in the background. I apologize. She wants to say hi. Yeah, I went to school at UW-Madison for art. I got a job as a graphic designer in a bike company when I first graduated, worked there for a few years, and then started freelancing and doing a little bit of the graphic design, but then transitioning to illustration. And I've been focusing on illustration since about 2012, 2013. And then in the last couple years, I've been doing more large-scale illustration, aka murals. And so I've been doing a little bit more of that and little sign painting and stuff here and there. So it's been kind of all over the place, but yeah, that's kind of how I like it. So
I love it. That's kind of why we had decided on the chat title, A Little Bit of Everything, because you really do so much of everything. It's like, oh, have you illustrated a book? Yeah. Have you, have you created murals? Yeah. Have you done, there's so many things to do. And I feel like you're a perfect example to share with students types of art careers and like a path that you can take and how it can be forever morphing, right?
Exactly.
Yes. And you also will chat a little bit later about how you visited my art room a few times and why it's important to bring artists and authors and people into your classroom a little bit too. So if y'all have any questions for Emily, go ahead and pop them either using the question tab or right into the chat, and I will be sure to try to scan for them and make sure we have everybody having a voice here. But Emily, so let's talk just a little bit. You said you've been getting into some murals and some things like that too. Obviously, we're like around the 1 year mark for at least where we are, like the pandemic sort of hitting Madison, hitting Wisconsin, hitting the US. How has COVID sort of changed your art career, either for the better or worse or both, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as a freelancer, I work from home. And so that part of it didn't really change much. I'm still working from home, even through the pandemic. I guess the big change is my family is home with me now, which is great, for the most part. It means my husband and I are sharing the computer on occasion and just kind of working around each other. Sometimes if all of us are streaming at the same time, then all of a sudden our Wi-Fi doesn't work, so just kind of dealing with that. The technology part of it, but for the most part, my work itself hasn't changed that much.
Right.
I guess the client work slowed down just a titch, but honestly, I had a big book project already in the works last year over the course of the summer, and thankfully that stayed. And so, so I got to work on that all summer. And honestly, like the pandemic meant that there were less meetings and other commitments. And so that actually meant that I was more focused on my work and, more productive probably in a way. And then like, as far as the mural work goes, exterior murals outside, that's relatively safe. So that was good.
Right.
It kind of worked well with the whole pandemic thing and safety thing. Interior murals slow down a bit, maybe because people really aren't throwing their money at beautifying their spaces, because
right.
now you can't really go out to eat at restaurants or whatnot. So, but for the most part, I've been staying pretty busy. When COVID first happened, I was really inspired to create. I didn't have a ton of work at that moment. And so, but I was still like making. I was drawing my sketchbook a bunch. I was participating in a lot of like pandemic art clubs. And so kind of doing that kind of thing. And just, I don't know, because I know for some artists, it was kind of the opposite. But for me, I just felt like I was overflowing like emotions. I just need to kind of get it out through my art. So it was interesting how that happened.
Yeah, and sort of bringing it back to that education world a little bit, I feel like processing our emotions is a huge part of how we can use art to like play into that, right? It's like, how are you feeling? Like, try bringing that out through your art, which I think is really evident. And from which people can check out your Instagram, and I definitely advise they do that because it is amazing, and there's so many things you're working on and lots of fun stuff in the future. So stay tuned, y'all. But one of the things that I've always loved watching are like the drawing series that you do. And I think that can be really fun to incorporate, again, into a classroom or just into your own personal art practice.
Definitely.
Can you tell us just a little bit about some of the past like 100-day projects or drawing prompts or Inktober, anything that you've done that's just been like a consistent hold yourself accountable type of drawing exercise?
Yeah, those are really important to me, those kind of daily practices, even when I'm really busy. I mean, there are times when I have multiple projects happening at one time, but yet I'm still working through a 30-day project. And it's like, why am I doing this to myself? But at the same time, those projects are really important to me because it's like my personal work, right? I mean, it's great having client work, don't get me wrong, because that pays the bills. But at the same time, sometimes I'm not always, I'm not really designing for myself or drawing for myself, right? And so these challenges that I present for myself are really good for me as just to grow as an artist, because I use those as a way to kind of explore, excuse me, like other mediums or maybe like subject matter that I wouldn't typically be focusing on. And so I feel like it's really good for just to kind of keep me sharp as an artist.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned the 100-day project. That's a perfect example. I've done that 4 times now. That one's really, really hard just because it's 100 days. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And
it's a third of a year. I mean, that's tricky.
It is. Yeah. And so I try to pick, in an instance like that, I try to pick something that I know I'm going to want to continue doing over the course of 4 months or whatever it is. But like still, even between days 60 and 80, it gets really weird. I will say that, because I am out of ideas, but I know like I got to get through this. But that's also when the creativity really starts.
Weird is good, right?
Weird is awesome. And sometimes some of my favorite pieces come from that like weird time. So yeah. So, but like 30-day projects are my favorite because it's a long enough time where you can kind of really get into the groove, but at the same time, it's not 4 months, right? It's
totally.
It seems attainable. And I also like those projects because often they're kind of a social media thing, right? So the 100-day project, Inktober, a lot of other artists are doing them at the same time. And so it's kind of fun to follow those hashtags and kind of see other people that are kind of in the same position as I am and doing their own thing, and it's kind of a cool community that's built.
Completely. Completely. I love that. And I think that's something that I love watching in artists themselves, so that we can see your personal work, we can see sort of what you do when you have those quick moments or whatever kind of like consistent thing it continues to happen. I think that can be really fun to watch. And it's also nice too, because for things like Inktober or 100-day projects, there's that need to produce too. It's kind of like, I don't know about you, but like I don't really love working out all the time, but if I have to tell somebody that I'm working out, or like I tell somebody, all right, I'm counting my cat, or whatever's happening, right? Anything that's your own personal goals, just like creating a drawing, that accountability is so important, and that can be really a great thing to model yourself as an art educator or as an artist or creative, and can also be just as equally as important to show your students, hey, look at something that I've created for so long, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with those, people ask, well, what are you going to do with this when you're done? Like, are you going to make it into a coffee table book or what? But I try not to I don't want to get caught up in what's next, because then I feel like I'm producing for the wrong reasons. Like, I want this to truly be about just me and my art and doing something that is challenging me or making me happy. And then if something comes of it, that's awesome, but that's not that's not why I'm doing it. So it's important for me to kind of get in the right mindset and be very thoughtful and mindful about what I'm doing. Because I think that's when I produce my best work, is when it's for me and not for whatever that could be, right?
Yeah, completely. Sort of thinking of the why. What's the motivation? What's the reason? What like sparks your creativity, right? Speaking of spark.
Hello. Okay.
Hi, Rothko.
Yep, she got up here.
People love like pets that have art names, so Rothko is like a very appropriate pet name, right?
So it's confusing because Rothko, my cat, is technically a girl, so people often think that she's a boy, but it's fine. Or they call her Roscoe because they don't know Mark Rothko. Sure. But whatevs.
It's all good. It's all good. We love them all. I love it. Well, so you do have multiple other projects that you've been working on, including, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the mural making, specifically that positive messaging that you and your studio, Oh Yeah Studio, which I want to hear about the origin of that as well, or at least the origin of the name of that. But can you tell us just a little bit more about how that whole project started, and then the importance of spreading that positivity with our community?
Yep. Yeah, so Oh Yeah Studio kind of came to be, there's three of us. So it's myself, my studio mate Ray Most, and Brian Kehoe. And the three of us, kind of independent of one another, had been doing murals, doing lettering and sign painting kind of work. And we all met through the Madison Public Library Bubbler. And just from like little meet and greets and little happy hours. And once we found out that we were all sort of doing the same thing, like, hey, we should hang out, we should get to know each other, and maybe even like help each other with some of these projects. So it kind of started out as almost like labor trades. So I would work on a mural and they would help me, and then Brian would have a mural and we would help him. But it was a great way to kind of find out more about each other and kind of learn about each other's like skills and, you know, how well we work together, how well we vibe together. And that led to us eventually getting a shared studio space at a maker space on the other side of Madison, which meant that we could kind of share not only our labor, but like supplies and stuff like that too, right? It was great. And it was it was a very small space. It was like 8 by 12, which meant that we were on top of each other all the time. but it just kind of solidified the fact that we really liked working together. And the name itself is so living in Wisconsin. It's kind of a Scotty like phrase. Oh yeah, and with our up north accent, right? And so it's just part of the Wisconsin vernacular. And we were looking for something that was kind of short and sweet, and that was kind of fun because we were kind of goofy and whimsical, and so we wanted it to kind of have that vibe as well. And it just so happens that Oh Yeah was the first mural that Ray and Brian collaborated on, and so oh my gosh, that actually has like a little history in telling our story too. It was the first one, so you know, it kind of came about from a couple different ways, but it really stuck. And now it's so funny, now that we are named Oh Yeah Studio, we say oh yeah just like in our conversation all the time. I mean,
now it's your actual catchphrase. You're like, well, now we have to say this. Sorry.
Right. So it really stuck.
I love it.
And now we have a new studio, which is bigger, and we can actually spread out a little bit, that we just moved into about a month and a half ago, and it's been great. And hopefully once things, you know, quiet down with COVID, that we can eventually have some like workshops or some like educational opportunities, and just like a cool hangout space, because we love hanging out there, but we want others to join us too.
Yeah, exactly. And I love too the origin of the three of you coming together as local artists, and then also that's just a fun thing to think about as art creative people. Sometimes I feel like there's so much that happens in a vacuum, and you're like living in your own little bubble and creating and sketching and doing whatever you're doing in your own little space. But then it's like, oh, I can like hang out in a group and do this, or I can collaborate with other people, and all of those things make it even more meaningful, especially if maybe that's outside your comfort zone
Yeah.
or something you know you need as a social person. So I think that's a really fun fun origin. So
yeah.
we'll be sure to link.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, sorry. I was
No,
just
that's
saying,
okay.
and we're also like learning from each other too.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of have our strengths as independent artists, but working around each other all the time, we're watching what each other's doing, and we're learning, and we're kind of soaking it all in, right? And so I feel like we're all just becoming stronger just by being in proximity with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. It has been like, we've been just, I would say in the last few months or so, we've been like actually collaborating in a way that it's not just one of us designing the mural and then the other three painting it. We're actually combining some of our skill sets into, which I don't know, it's kind of cool because we're making like a true collab, right? It's not it's working together, but we're also like designing it from the ground up together, which has been a really good thing for me. I mean, I feel I've learned a lot from it just because I'm so used to working on my own and not really having to, you know, care about what other people are.
Right. Letting go of the control a little bit.
Right.
Working together with others. All of that is incredibly important and helps bring ownership over that studio a little bit too. Nice. So yeah, so the origin of that is Oh Yeah Studio. And of course, we'll link to that as well in case you're interested in looking at some of their mural work. Lots of positive phrases that have, you know, you guys specialize, I feel like, a lot in text. You also all really like, it seems that way, bright colors, like everything is very positive, trying to spread love and positivity throughout our city and to the bigger Madison area, I think too. So
yeah, and I forgot to mention that the first ones that we were doing last year were kind of at the start of pandemic, and it was we were all so like cooped up in our houses, and no one was really like getting out much, and it was just the general vibe was pretty low, right, in the beginning, and so the first one that we did, the three of us, was the phrase was "hold on to hope," and so for us that was just like, we are going to get through this together, right? It might take a bit, but there is still hope. And so it was really important for us to kind of use that canvas, that space to put some positivity out there and some color. I mean, I think that first one came up in maybe April, so it was pretty drab around here. It was melted, but nothing was green yet. And so I think we all really needed that. And we had a lot of validation from the community and, you know, people coming by who were just like, oh yes, this is just what we needed, like this is exactly what I'm thinking, and thank you for putting this out. So it was great. I mean, it was just kind of a feel good project all around.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit talking about art education, sort of like your experience a little bit. So as you, I would imagine, know that the Art of Education is a resource primarily for art educators. So can you just tell us a little bit about your background, like growing up in art? What was your teaching, like what were your teachers like, and how did that mold you into the artist and creative that you are today?
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved art since I was a little kiddo. So art class was always one of my favorites, that and science. But I just, you know, I was constantly producing art, and I went to a little parochial school up in northern Wisconsin, and I can remember before school started every August, I would go to school a little bit early, like a week early, and the teachers were all busy, you know, prepping for their classes and prepping their classroom spaces, and I mean, maybe you could call this brown nosing, but I would just go and offer my help to any of the teachers.
I loved doing that. Yes.
Oh my gosh. It was just so fun to like pass out all the papers and stuff like that. But my personal favorite was making, I don't know if this is even still a thing, but like the little wavy borders for bulletin boards. I would make those custom for the teachers. So they would tell me what they wanted, and then I would like measure the bulletin boards.
Your own side biz.
Yes. And I can specifically still remember one that was blue sky with clouds and rainbows everywhere. And I'm like, that's actually still kind of a prime subject matter for me, is like the rainbows and the sunshines, right? So even way back when in third grade, that's what I was creating. But my favorite teacher was in high school. His name was Mr. Christensen. We called him Mr. C. And though I went to a really little school up in like a farm town, there weren't a ton of opportunities for us necessarily, but I remember he just kind of went out of his way to get us extra opportunities. So there was a little museum in the next town over called the Leoki Woodson Art Museum in Wausau, Wisconsin. And they they would have like a little competition every year, and he would submit our art to this competition. And I actually ended up winning a few of these awards, which is pretty cool. And so I really appreciated the fact that even though we didn't have a lot of those opportunities, he still like went out of his way to find them for us. And he would do like artist of the week, or you know, like right over the water fountain. I can remember that's where the artist of the week was. And so he would line the hallways with all of the art, similar to what you do, but there would be the, you know, the one in the front and center, which is pretty cool. And so he was wonderful. And even though he's retired now, he still comes to events of his, you know, his past students and stuff.
That's awesome.
I just went to a book signing last year. There was a student 2 years older than me, but he's now a pretty prolific graphic novel artist. And so he had a book signing in Wausau, and Mr. C was there. So it was so great to see him again. It had been so long. And so just a huge supporter. And I just really appreciated what he did in encouraging us again. So yeah,
that's awesome. And that's come up a few many times in specifically these chats, is the fact that our students don't necessarily always remember everything that we create, the specific projects, but they'll remember that feeling. They'll remember the way they had a chance to explore. They'll remember everything that they felt in the art room or in our art space or in their creative space with us. And that is that's kind of what it's all about. So speaking of creative spaces, Miss Emily, you have been lucky enough to come to my classroom a couple times before as a visiting artist. So I know we have a close friendship because we know each other, but just speaking broadly or about your time in our classroom as well, what do you feel is important about visiting classrooms or about connecting with little ones? And then kind of what was your experience like when you came to an elementary school?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm going to answer that one first because my first response is, huh, how does she do this every day? Like, I mean, I have a kiddo. I mean, she's 13, but it's one kiddo. I can't imagine having an entire room, much less like, you know, several throughout the course of the day. So
I will say, like, once you get the routines down, and like it takes practice for sure, but like the days when I'll, like, transparency here, today one of my kindergarten classes, I think there was 3 students just full sobbing. And so like it sort of just felt like a mental breakdown kind of day, and I vibe with that for sure. So just know that like it's not always like it can have its ups and downs, and we all know that's what it's like. So just know the tears happen, but we push through that, and we're gonna make it.
And that makes it even more impressive, to be honest, knowing that, you know, you might be feeling something back here, but the fact that you put on your face and you do your thing and you make it work, that's so impressive. But it's so fun. Like, yes, I'm totally overwhelmed with like the wall of, I don't want to say wall of sound, because actually your classroom is quite under control for the most part, but still it's just like
excitement. Energy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Energy. Yes. That's the perfect word for it. But it's so fun. And like, once I kind of loosen up and, all right, this is what we're doing. I just love it. It just kind of fills me with like, I don't know, just happiness, I guess, and energy. And I don't know, the questions that the kids ask, I mean, they really throw me off guard sometimes. Like, they are asking some good questions, but all over the place, and kind of keep me on my toes. But it's so fun, and they're so engaged too. Like, that's what I love about going to your classroom, is that the kids like really want to be there, and they really want to be participating in whatever the project is or whatever the activity is. And that's really motivating for me too, to know that, wow, they actually are like listening to this, and they're they're doing the thing, right? And so
I also just discovered that I said, oh yeah, by the way. Oh yeah.
I'm telling you. See, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, Wisconsinites at their finest. But yes, it's true. I mean, I think that kids, they typically love coming to art, love coming to listen to their art teacher and converse and have this beautiful discussion. But there is something really exciting about a new person, specifically someone that loves making art as much as them, right? So if at all possible, I would highly encourage at least try to just look out for, and at this point I'm speaking to art educators or people that have the ability to invite artists or authors or even people that don't maybe have a direct connection to art, but maybe they were like an interior designer. They might have something that can like really pull those kiddos that just are looking for that little way to grab them a little bit, and grab their interest or their focus. And having Emily come in and connect, like, hey, there's someone that's working as an artist, and here are all the things that she does. This is what it could look like if this is interesting to you. I think that really breaks down those walls of, you know, when you're 7 years old and you love art, it's hard to know what that could look like as a future for yourself, you know? Yeah. It can be, it can be really hard to visualize. So I think that's a huge part about bringing those artists in too.
And I remember being a kid and loving art as much as I did and saying, I'm going to be an artist when I grow up. But I didn't really actually know what that meant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that meant like my work is eventually going to hang in a museum someday or something, a famous artist, right?
Right.
That was like the only perception that I had as an artist. And so it wasn't until I was much older that I'm like, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of different directions I can take this. And so, yeah, for those kids to see, oh, this is actually like a working artist. Yeah, she's a mom, and you know, she's like, she might be like my mom, or you know, like they can identify because it's like a tangible person in front of them. That's maybe seemingly ordinary, right? Because here I am in my flannel shirt and not in a fancy gallery or something like that, but it seems attainable, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I think that's great that you bring those artists in.
Right. I think that's it's always just a nice thing to think about. And certainly with the current virtual world a little bit, you know, I would encourage art educators, if at all possible, to reach out to other artists or see if they can make a virtual visit. Sometimes that's even easier and something you can even advocate for in the future. Have them see if you can, you know, whip up a little grant for, and I say whip up as if it's easy, but like try to gather some, you know, something to see if you could get a video from someone. There's so many ways to reach out and really enrich your students' education by pulling some other artists instead of just one voice, multiple voices, right? To come together and share about what you're doing in your classroom. So I think that's a really fun way to do that. Okay, so let's talk just a couple more things about some of the projects that you're working on. I know our theme of our chat today was or is a little bit of everything, right? So you're always doing a little bit of everything. Like I know you're working on like an Afghan quilt thing that you're crocheting, and you're like doing beaded necklaces, and you're painting, and you're murals, and you're you know, illustrating children's books. So like, what are some current projects that you have going on, and how does that fit into your like a little bit of everything sort of vibe?
Yep. So I'm working on well, actually, am I working on a book currently? I'm going to be starting a book soon, but I'm not technically currently working on a book. I have one coming out next month. That's with American Girl. So my first fully illustrated book was with American Girl, and it was all about creativity and a really fun book, if I do say so.
Yes, I was gonna maybe I'll link it tomorrow in the for the art event, because I was gonna hold mine up at school. I have a copy. It's called Spark. It's really fun.
It's this one.
There you go.
I have one sitting right here.
I figured you might.
Yes. So my second book with American Girl is coming out at the end of April, and that one's called Kitchen Chemistry, and it's all about, you know, it's like a cookbook essentially, but it's more the science behind cooking, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of recipes in it. It was fascinating for me because, again, like my love of science and art just kind of combined it all, and so that one's coming out at the end of April. I have another book which I can't quite tell you all the specifics, but that one's coming out in the fall, which is exciting. What else am I working on with? Oh yeah, we're actually putting together our first workshop. And, yep, it's in partnership with the Monroe Street Art Center, which is an art center here in Madison. It's a video, so you can register and then you get like the secret link to the video, which is going to drop in a few weeks. But that one's all about 3D lettering. And to create those. So a lot of at least the first 3 murals that I had done together, like you said, were more text-based and kind of these positive quotes, but they all had this very distinct like rainbow shadow that extended off of the letters. And so we're teaching people how to create those types of letters. So
nice.
So that's kind of fun. We just recorded our intro this morning, and it's super silly and just like, but it feels good. So look out for that. Oh man, what else is going on? I don't know. I guess that's the big stuff. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I am working on the Afghan, so I started crocheting for the first time. And my current daily project is just crocheting a granny square every day. And I didn't really have a plan. I more just wanted to kind of use up my yarn stash, which was humongous and very all over the place colorful. And it's just, I decided, well, okay, if I'm making all these granny squares, I might as well make them into something. And so I've decided to make a big Afghan.
Yes.
So that has been fun. And something that I can do, like, you know, hanging out on the couch with my family and stuff.
Totally.
Like that. So yeah, I would say that's majority of what's taking up my time right now.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate of couch crafts or like couch art, because especially now when it's like, I know I need to, well, I shouldn't say need to create, but I know it's going to make me feel better to create.
Yep.
I know I should kind of like search out for those opportunities so I'm not like losing my own creative spirit. But
Yep.
couch tasks are like I'm embroidering right now and it's taking me months and months and I love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I just got my hoop and my needle and my yarn. That's all. Yeah.
Yep.
All
You know it.
iPad, get some yarn, get a little sketchbook, anything that can make you feel like you're being creative without having to prepare so much.
Yes.
Can make it a more an attainable goal.
For sure.
Love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So I was also going to ask you, since we have a lot of art educators that are watching, and I know that this might be sort of fluid, it changes a little bit every year, but you've also, you love to teach as well, right? You visited my classroom, so you know what that's like to be in front of a huge class of students,
yes.
But you've also hosted Blue Star, or Camp Blue Star. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us just a little bit about what that like small group looks like, and your love for more practical projects with little ones?
Yes, yeah. So that this was like a long time dream of mine, was to kind of teach a little art camp, and it had been percolating for a while. And a few years ago, I decided to finally, like, this was the year that I was going to do it. And I really wasn't sure what that was going to look like, because I didn't want it to necessarily be like other art classes or other art camps necessarily. So what I wanted to do was really focus on, I'm calling them practical projects, but just like something tangible, like for the kiddos, bedroom or their home, like something that they could use in their everyday life, or like beautify their space, right? And so, and kind of focusing on like upcycling or using materials that you could find around your house. And so what Camp Blue Star ended up being was a 1-week camp that I think we did 6 projects over the course of the camp, but it really focused on a lot of different skills, which I thought was really fun and unique. And so, you know, these kids were learning how to do natural fabric dyeing using, like, you know, food scraps, and making a bandana out of it, and then doing block printing on the bandana. So it's kind of combining a couple different skills in one project, or using old t-shirts cut up into t-shirt yarn, which then eventually we used to make a hula hoop rag rug, which was my personal favorite project. And so it was really fun. So that, you know, we're touching on skills like printmaking, dyeing, sewing, what else? Painting, like clay work, you know, so it's kind of all over the place. Again, that seems to be the theme.
A little bit of everything.
Right, exactly. But I think it was really fun for the kids too. So like every day we're kind of focusing on a different skill. We're kind of jumping all over the place, keeping them on their toes. And the other thing that made it really unique was the fact that it was at our house. And so we have a very small house. I mean, 1,100 square feet. It's tiny, but we have a little backyard, and it was in the summer, so we could kind of spill out into the backyard and use the outdoor space as well. But it created this really intimate environment for the kids, you know. And so I remember one kiddo in particular was pretty shy and wasn't necessarily socializing a lot with the rest of the kids. And so he found that his favorite space to work was actually on the landing of our steps. And so that was his corner, and it was so cool. And the fact that they could kind of find what was comfortable for them, you know, some were working outside, some were on our couch, you know, just kind of spread out all over the place. It meant that our house was turned upside down for that week. And thank goodness I have a very patient family, because I mean, not everyone would be totally cool with having kids like pretty much destroying our house, but it was great. You know, to me, it's just paint, whatever, it'll clean up, right? But it was fun, and just seeing these kids and like the joy in their faces after they made like this really awesome rug that they could put on their floor in their bedroom. I mean, how cool is that, right? And
Yeah.
so we did Camp Blue Star for 2 years, and I had a part A and a part B, so there are different projects for each. And then last year, I was going to partner with Monroe Street Art Center, again, who I mentioned earlier, and we were going to do the same projects, but we were going to do it at their new space. And so I was, even though we would kind of miss out on that kind of intimacy of at our house, I liked the idea of being able to spread out in a space that was actually made for right?
Creating.
But then COVID happened, so that got canceled. So unfortunately, we haven't actually done that partnership yet, but we will at some point.
Yes, I imagine. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Yes.
Especially people that are local will want to get on that, because that sounds like I want to participate. I want you to do an adult version so that I can hang out and make like t-shirt rugs. Everything is like, kids love things that they can then use. Right? If you make like a pencil cup, it's like their mind is blown. It's amazing. Right?
Yes.
Because yes, something that serves a little bit of a function, or gives them the option to explore what that might be, what kind of function it can serve, is they love it. They eat it up, and it's really fun to show them that it doesn't. There's so many options, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my last big question for you before we do some sticker fun giveaway at the end. Yes, I agree. Adult version.
I hear you, Jarrell.
We would love, I mean, your artwork, your murals, your daily creation is just filled with so much positivity and joy. Emily, what kind of parting words of advice or encouragement do you have for us as we move forward?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to say, I mean, find the thing that just makes you happy. I mean, for me, it's color and like smiley faces and anthropomorphizing everything, which, in case you don't know, that means making an inanimate object into more human-like ways. But anyways, but like, that's what makes me happy, right? And so find that thing that makes you happy, and just try to carve out even like 10 to 15 minutes a day for that. It doesn't take much, but I feel like it's so important for you just to find that thing, and not only for just your creativity, but just your like general well-being, right? And it's the same as going out and taking a walk or taking a nice long bath. I mean, I think it's really important for you to do something for yourself.
Totally.
And whatever that means, it might not necessarily, for me it's drawing, but that might not be what it means for you. It might be your embroidery or, you know, photography or bird watching or something like that. But I just
completely,
it's so important for just to find a little bit of time for yourself.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think that's great advice too, is not to have it be a point of stress, but know that it will hopefully help you release stress. There was something that I will not get the exact quote right, but it was something to the point of, if you feel like you don't have time to meditate, then you need to meditate twice as long, right? Because if you're feeling stressed, then that is in fact what you need to do to help you relieve. So if you're feeling like, I don't have the time to make art, then you probably need to make it even more, because you know that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So always remembering that. So, okay, now we're going to do our sticker giveaway, because sweet Emily has given us like a whole plethora of her amazing stickers and some fun little Posca pen hearts. So I am going to do, and we still have our holographic AOEU sticker, which is amazing. So we're going to do the first question is going to be to win the AOEU sticker and a couple stickers from Emily and one of the hearts. So this is the big one, right? And it is a trivia question that I want y'all to answer in the chat if you know the answer, okay? So if you know the answer and you're the first person to type this out, then I will mail you a little gift, and I'll message you for your address. So the question for today, the trivia question is, what is the name of Emily's studio? What is the name of their mural making studio with the Wisconsin phrase? I got it. Sometimes like the leg is dramatic. I'm like, oh no, they know it. Yay! Oh yeah, studio. Woo!
Yeah,
Miss GS, I love it.
Yes, there they are.
They're rock stars.
Good job, everyone.
Yay, good job. Okay, perfect. So in fact, you know what I'm gonna, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, y'all are participating.
Holy smoke. Do you want me to be writing things down, Sarah?
No, I got the first one, but here's the next thing. I feel like I wish I could just give it to all. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Oh, yeah. Is Miss GS is getting the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what? All y'all that typed, I'm going to message you, and I'm just going to figure it out here for you. I'm going to split it up. Okay, so, Emily, this is when you need to make sure I get everybody. So, after Miss GS, I've got Cindy D. Cooney, right?
Let's see here. Miss GS. Yep, Cindy
Coney.
D. Cooney. Olivia Sloan.
Okay, wait. Olivia. I usually don't do this many giveaways, y'all, so just bear with me for a second. The art teacher.
Yep, you got it.
Art, Teachr. Olivia Sloan, I already got you, girl. Yep. Mrs. _ T. Art. I know, I feel like Oprah. You get a card.
Sorry, y'all.
Nice.
Just stickers.
Stickers are just too cool. But Emily donated a bunch of stickers for us, and I was like, well, we're going to have some fun with this. So that's why. Art, MSTM. I have 3 more. H, White. VH. You get a sticker. You get a sticker. SUEGSKI. All right, sweet. So, sweet friends that I just mentioned, I'm not going to repeat them because if you typed, you basically are on my list. I will message you for your address so that I can send you a couple of Emily's sweet little stickers and some hearts from watching our chat today. So this chat will be saved in our Instagram Live, our IGTV tab on the Art event. So you're welcome to rewatch and share with anybody else that you think would enjoy hearing some of the fun things that can make you have a little bit of everything in your life. And also we will be sharing a few more things about Emily and Oh Yeah Studio and following along on our Instagram page after this in the Art of Ed story, and you can follow along there. So thank you everybody for joining. Emily, thank you as always for sharing your positivity with the world. Stay awesome, and we'll see you later.
Bye everyone.
Bye.